we are super good in numbing ourselves. Don't allow feelings to arise. Don't sit with our feelings, showing emotions and stuff. And by numbing ourselves, you completely disconnect from your body, because your body sends you signals all the time. And it's something, the more clear you are, the more present you are, you suddenly start reconnecting with these inner resources, with this intuition, where it's like, okay, trusting the intuition that it leads you the right way.
Sascha is a certified breathwork facilitator whose vision is to use the art and science of the breath for health, growth, and change in body, mind, and spirit. He empowers people to reconnect with their emotional, mental, and physical body. In this episode, you'll hear about how Sascha was working in fashion and felt something had to change, but wasn't sure what. How he listened to his inner guidance and intuition and discovered his calling with excitement and fear. You're listening to Going Conscious, the podcast where we discover new ways to live a more conscious life of fulfillment and freedom. Each week, I speak with entrepreneurs, academics, and changemakers who have made big transformations, left unfulfilling lives behind, and found meaning in this new world where purpose drives success. Let's get inspired to live our unique journeys to the fullest. Let's explore the impact we want to make and deepen our understanding of ourselves, each other, and this beautiful world around us. Live your freedom. I'm your host, Nikki Trott. I'm excited to bring you this episode with Sascha. He's a dear friend of mine. We met in Berlin and he introduced me to breathwork. I knew barely anything about it before he started his breathwork practice, and I went along to one of his sessions out of curiosity. This discovery of breathwork, for me, unlocked one of the most important tools on my journey of connecting more deeply with myself and opening up to my spirituality and true purpose. I'm truly thankful to Sascha for this. If you haven't tried breathwork, I don't think it's really possible to understand the effects and benefits fully. Just try it once. And the worst that will happen is you'll feel relaxed with boosted health. In this episode, we talk about the lightness of quitting, how to take ownership of your life, how to find courage to take a big step, how to take action to discover your calling, how to reconnect with yourself and discover the happiness of listening to your intuition, how to feel every cell of your body is alive, and how to shift your life with breathing. Now let's get to the episode. Sascha, welcome to Going Conscious. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, hello. Thanks a lot for having me. Finally.
Really interested to find out more about your journey today, from fashion sales, working for massive global brands like Nike and Diesel and Converse, to discovering breathwork in Bali and then creating your own breathwork company and helping a lot of people to change their lives.
Yes, there was quite a journey. For me, maybe when it all started, it was like when I reflect on my journey so far, it was in 2015, basically, when I went to Burning Man for the first time. And looking back now, at this time, it really changed my mindset. And when I got back from Burning Man, I already knew that I had to change something in my life. By the time I didn't know what it was. Like from the outside, everything looked fine. I had a decent job. I was making decent money. I was traveling and everything, but something inside was missing. And at the end, I decided to quit my job and started traveling. I ended up in Bali, went there for surfing, and that's when I got in touch with breathwork for the first time.
So when you kind of knew something had to change before you quit your job, do you remember what that felt like?
Honestly, like when I quit my job, by the time I had no clue where I was going, where it's going to lead me. The only thing I knew was I need to change something. And what I did, it was like, because by the time I moved from Munich to Berlin, and I thought, okay, moving city maybe is going to make a change, but it was really quick after I arrived in Berlin that it was like I'm still not really satisfied with my job. Even I got a promotion. I was working as a key account manager with a lot of responsibility, but I was like, okay, that's not fulfilling me. And then the only thing I made was a fixed date for me. It was like it was beginning of the year, and I said, okay, by September, October, I need to change something. So what I did at the end, I just quit my job, but I had no idea what I was going to do. No clue, not at all. The only thing I knew was like, okay. And when I made that decision, it felt so light and so alive and so full of energy, because I thought, of course, there's like, when I talk to friends and family, I'm like, okay, you have this job, you're like kind of secure what you think you have. So how can you do this and da da da? But for me, it was just like this inner voice. I was like, okay, there must be a cut here. And when I like resigned from the job, it was just like so much energy and so much excitement and so much. And along the journey, the first couple of weeks and months, I never regretted doing that step.
Wow. So it sounds brave. It sounds challenging to just quit when you didn't know what you were doing next. And also when you're hearing from friends and family, maybe that they don't understand or think that it's a good idea when you have security.
And I remember this when I arrived in Bali, I was kind of, feeling proud. Okay, I quit my job and I like, okay, I'm going to stay here for a couple of months. And then when I started meeting people in Bali, you sit around with like total strangers and you start conversations and you listen, okay, I'm here 46 months. I quit my job 2 years ago. so it's, you're nothing kind of special there, because like everybody's on a different journey, and you along your journey you meet this kind of people or your crowd, and then that even motivates you and makes you even stronger and braver, and like, okay, I'm doing the right thing now. There are other people also on the same journey, so it's doable. You get to know different lifestyles, different values of life, and how you want to interact with other people, how you want to be present in life. And that's also like a big learning for me along the journey, that meeting a lot of interesting people along the way.
And so what was the lifestyle that you were discovering that you were attracted to?
Basically dictating your own day, creating your own life, basically taking your ownership again, being open, having the energy to learn new things, creating new things, trying out new things, and being basically more, as open-minded as possible. And that's something I really found there when I was in Bali. Also the courage to try new things, and it has nothing to do with age. That's also something I think when we grow up, it's like at a certain age you can't do this anymore because society expects you to be like this, to have this and that. But there I met so many different people from so many different countries, and like all ages, all genders, all colors, and everybody had a super interesting story to tell.
So where do you think you did find the courage to make this huge change and take this big step? Where did that courage come from?
I think it was a process. It's not that I just woke up one day and it was like, okay, that's it. Like, I think reflecting, it started in 2015. There was the year for me where I traveled a lot, and I really found joy in traveling so much. And then the highlight more or less of the year was in Burning Man. And for me, it was like, I lost kind of faith in humanity. And when I came back from there, I felt like, okay, there is still hope and love and caring for each other. And so that we are reflecting on that time. It was like the starting point. And then it was like step by step, I came to this conclusion, okay, there must be a change. And at the end, but I can't really tell what was the exactly point which made it. I think it was like the tiny little steps every day that brought me towards doing this.
And then how did you discover breath work? What was that like for you in Bali?
There was the last hostel I was staying. I had a conversation with a guy who was living there with his wife, and he told me that my wife is doing something with breathing. And because we talk, when it comes to surfing, it's also really important how you breathe, because when you paddle or when you get held down by the wave, you need to be aware of how you're breathing. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try. And at the beginning, I was really even close to cancel it, because from what I know about breathing was like kind of yoga, the pranayama breathing. So, and I said, okay, sitting there in a lotus seat for an hour, it's going to destroy my knees. So I was really close to cancel it. But at the end, I ended up going there, and I'm so grateful that I did, because the experience that I had there was just so amazing, so overwhelming in a positive way that it's hard to really find words for it, because I never experienced something like this before. And it's such a huge impact on me. And I think we are so privileged to travel around the world, to seeing so many things and stuff, but getting in touch with something that really hits you, that really touches you, it gets so rare, because you see so many things. And that was something for me, was breathwork. It was like, okay, wow, I did, like, after my first session, I went there for the rest of the time I was in Bali. I went there every week to join these breathwork session, and every time I went there, I had this massive insights and things happening inside me that was just like, wow.
Can you describe or tell us about some of those insights or things that were happening inside you?
First of all, I've never felt my body like I did, so alive, so intense with every cell. I felt every cell of my body. And I also tried some drugs or plant medicine, psilocybins and LSD and stuff, but there was nothing compare about the intensity, the rawness, what I experienced with breathwork. And also, for example, like my first experience I had, like for some it can be a bit frightening. For me, I didn't feel my body at all. It was kind of completely numb from my torso down, like from my head down. And then at one point, like during the session, like in my mind, I saw my wife and my mother in front of me, and they were like, okay, you're safe, you can let go. And then was this major rush of energy, pure love, pure consciousness that was running through me. And I was kind of like, after we finished the breathwork session, I was still kind of high of this energy for the next 3 or 4 days. It was indescribable. It was kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Limitless, when you suddenly walk around and somebody's putting away this milk glass from your face, and suddenly you see everything super clear, like in HD. So this kind of feeling I had the days after my first breathwork session.
I'm just thinking, for anybody who doesn't know breathwork, who's listening, can we just take one step back and just give us a little summary about what breathwork actually is?
I can tell a little bit about the history of breathwork if you want me to. It's like it has its roots in the late 60s, beginning of the 70s, and one of the key founders is Stanislav Grof. He's working and living in the US, and basically he was a doctor using psilocybin and LSD in the 60s to work with trauma patients. But then when he got banned, he was looking for new ways to work with his patients, because he found out that going into this altered state of consciousness, that you can really release a lot of trauma. And his sessions, so it's called holotropic breathing, they're really intense. They last for 3-4 hours. Nowadays, one of the most well-known guys at the moment is Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method. He's a crazy Dutchman running around in Himalaya just with his Speedo on and some shoes. And he is using a different breathing technique combined with the codes. It's a really like immune booster, energy booster. When it comes to a breathwork, like how I discovered my first breathwork session is like we were in a group of around 15 people. You have one breathwork facilitator. You start with a little meditation. And basically what you do is, like, during the session, you're going to lie down and you're going to breathe through a relaxed open mouth. And the two important things, you don't pause between the inhale and the exhale. So it's seamless breathing in and out. So you breathe in circles all the time, in and out, in and out, in and out. And so you're filling your whole body on the inhalation with a lot of oxygen, and then we completely relax into the exhalation. And what happens is within the process, you're changing your brain waves. You're going from beta brain waves into alpha, into theta brain waves, or even sometimes into gamma brain waves. And that's when we enter our unconscious mind. And there all sorts of things can happen. It's like for some, the experience can be completely like kind of a meditation. For others, can be on a completely physical experience. For others, they can go back really deep into some trauma, childhood trauma, and so on. And for example, when we reflect on Wim Hof, Stanislav Grof again, like I said, he's also leading in when it comes to altered states of consciousness. And he's working in this field for over 50 years. And what patients also described, that they even went further back, like into different lives, like in people starting talking in different languages, and all sorts of things can happen. It's a really wide range of things. But when you see nowadays, we have between 15 and 20 different breathing techniques. What they all have in common are the health benefits for you. For example, number one is a major stress release. It's really it also helps you if you have muscle tension. Like 70% of our muscle tension comes from wrong breathing. It's an immune booster, energy booster. It gives you more clarity. It can help you with digesting problem. It gets you better sleep. Nowadays, we are finding more and more science behind breathwork and breathing. It gets more and more attraction because people see if we are what wrong breathing can really leads us to a lot of inflammation in our body, a lot of diseases in our body. Our stress level are rising because of wrong breathing, and the list goes on and on and on.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, from going to your sessions myself, I have certainly experienced incredible and the most powerful kind of psychedelic experiences, connecting with deceased relatives, connecting with nature, oneness, body dissolving, all sorts. Every session is so different, and it seems something it's hard to even really fully understand until you experience it yourself. That was how I found it. I was very unsure and skeptical, but I was curious and open. But as soon as I had tried it once, there was no turning back for me.
And yeah, what I also like the beauty about breathwork is that you are completely in charge what's happening, because it's your commitment to breathe, nobody else. When you, for example, when you take substances or something, we're always looking for outside stimulations to cure us. You have a headache, you take a pill, and stuff, and goes on and on. But with breathwork, really, it's the opposite around. It comes from the inside outside. And if along the journey, when you go into the process of a breathwork journey and you're facing some difficulties, you always have the option to get yourself out of the situation just by slowing down. And that's also something that you can integrate in your everyday life, because everybody knows this feeling when you're super stressed, and then you hold on for a second and you think about your breathing, and you take like 3 relaxed breaths in and out. You see suddenly how your body's changing, and it's only by 3 breaths. So you can imagine if you go for a full-on breath journey, like my sessions, they last for 1 hour or so. So you can imagine what's possible there.
If you enjoy Going Conscious, please subscribe for a new episode every Wednesday. If you think your friends and networks would benefit from listening, please share this podcast of fulfillment and freedom with them. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. It's great to read what you think, and your support makes a big difference. Together, let's grow our courage and tools to transform and live the lives we really want to. As well as creating Going Conscious, I work as a transformation coach and conscious brand consultant. I'm on a mission to help holistically maximize conscious entrepreneurs to drive positive changes for themselves, others, and the planet. I can help you to transition and level up personally, and I can help your brand grow and make a bigger impact. To connect with me and find out more about how we can work together, find me on Instagram @NikkiTrott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. Please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you, and let's talk about your path of growth and development. So let's go back to you in Bali, and you've discovered breathwork and the incredible benefits that you're experiencing yourself, how did you then come to having your own breathwork company?
For me, the first step was that I just wanted to learn more about breathwork. Like I said, the impact it had on me was so profound that I just wanted to know something. I wanted to know more about breathwork and breathing. And that's when I started my breathwork teacher training with the Alchemy of Breath. Before I started the teacher training, I had a long call with the founder, Anthony, and it felt like a calling. Sometimes it's weird when people talk about callings, but for me, I don't know how to find another word for it. So it's like after the phone call with Anthony, I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. And then I started the journey, and along the journey with the teacher training, I had ups and downs as well. I was close to quit the teacher training because I got triggered in so many ways, because the teacher training is for 8 months long, and it's also really journey inwards, and you reflect on yourself, and you have to deal with your own shadows in a way that I haven't experienced before, because before I was always really good in hiding and running away from these feelings, to numb myself with drugs and sex and other stuff. And being there completely conscious, going through this process and dealing with stuff, really brought me to my edges physically and mentally. But I have a wonderful wife, and she supported me the whole way through. So I finished my teacher training, and then I started like sharing this wonderful exercise with family and friends, and then from there took it step by step, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I'm working for the last 2 years. I'm working full time as a breathwork facilitator here in Berlin.
Amazing. You described it was a calling. How did that feel like? Can you put some words to what it feels like to know something's your calling?
It was a mixture of like kind of excitement, a little bit fear, like stepping into the unknown, kind of rejection as well. Like I got triggered and it's like, should I really do this? But the main thing was like, it felt right. It just felt right. Like when I sat down and was closing my eyes and I was breathing, it was like, okay, that's it. I'm sorry, I can't describe it in another way.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. I know what you mean from when I walked away from my fashion consulting company and decided I needed to pursue my values, and it just came to me that I needed to train as a life coach and a transformational life coach. And I didn't have a clear plan, and I didn't really know how it would all unfold, but I just knew I had no choice somehow, that was what I needed to do. And it was so clear, and not without its challenges, like you say, not without ups and downs, but it was somehow non-negotiable when I listened to my intuition rather than my mind. I felt like it was a decision from deeper, from my gut, my intuition.
Yeah, completely. And also, like, for example, when I quit my job and then was traveling to Bali, while I was there, I never had that kind of what some other people describe it as. For me, it didn't work. Sitting on the beach, looking into the ocean, and suddenly I had this realization. Okay, that's what I want to do. I think that's kind of a myth. It's like you have to take action getting into that position. I don't think it's just like lying on the beach and suddenly it hits you. It's like, okay, and now I have the clue. I think you have to take the tiny steps towards, trying out new things. And then suddenly, and also what I described before, like we are super good in numbing ourselves. Don't allow feelings to arise. Don't sit with our feelings, showing emotions and stuff. And by numbing ourselves, you completely disconnect from your body, because your body sends you signals all the time. And it's something, the more clear you are, the more present you are, you suddenly start reconnecting with these inner resources, with this intuition, where it's like, okay, trusting the intuition that it leads you the right way. For example, when I look at my small daughter now, she's 2 years. For her, it's completely everything is with feelings, emotions, and you just like she just acts on that. And the older we get, we completely lose it. And I think you have to be super clear to reconnect with your inner guidance, so that you can make these steps and find the courage to do these steps.
Absolutely. So did your values change, or did you feel you came clear on your values? Because it's such a different way of living.
That's a good question. But I think like the core values didn't change for me when I look back. Like really deep down the core values, it was just like I described it. I was kind of pushing them away in a way and not allowing them to arise and always going for other things, but like reflecting now, like the core values, they haven't really changed for me. It's just like that I'm in a position now where I can live them more truly and more fulfilling than before.
What does that feel like?
Freedom. But it's also an interesting process. For me, it's also a learning process every day to trust in the values I have, to listen to my inner guidance and trusting these sensations, these feelings, and also reflecting like when I live like to the most that I can to my values, that how fulfilling it is, and like this just a fulfilling, happy feeling.
What is fulfillment to you?
Being completely present, so that you're like being 100% into the present moment, not being worrying about the future, not being like dealing with the past, just like being fully alive, fully present.
Beautiful. How does your life feel different now then in what you're doing with your breathwork company from how things were before when you were working for others and in fashion?
It's I mean, it has all its good and bad sides. Of course, before it was like working for a huge company. I got my paycheck every month, everything was settled. Now I'm like I have to because I have, like I said, I have a family, and I have to make sure we have a roof, we have enough to eat and stuff. And but on the other hand, it's like a completely freedom because I can structure my day like I want. It's also like I'm learning every day. I'm more motivated because I know why I'm doing this, and also trying out new things. And for me, also like the biggest joy in the moment, because I love what I'm doing. And then I think that the field of breathing and breathwork is so interesting. There's so much to learn, that like really I found the joy in learning again and in reading, because it's something I didn't like going to school. And after that, I was just like basically doing it for the money. And don't get me wrong, money is still a big, we have to talk about money because it pays the bills and everything. But for me, the biggest joy at the moment is learning new things and diving deeper and deeper into the world of breathwork and breathing.
And I wanted to ask you this just for myself as well, because I love being a participant in your sessions. But what's it like from your perspective to do this work, to have this impact on, or facilitate this impact that people can experience?
So much gratitude, and it's just amazing to see to see the changes in people's lives, and feeling their energy, and also seeing like after a session, when you look at the faces of people and they're smiling at you, where you really see they had this massive release of negative energy. And also after each session, we have these sharing circles, and then there's some really people sharing some deep insights. And it's like, sometimes it's really heartbreaking what people went through and still going through. And then seeing that breathwork is a tool for them to release, to free themselves, to find back to their inner resources, is just so fulfilling. And then it gives me so much energy to keep on doing this work. Even sometimes it's not so easy, but that's something which is money can't pay.
So what does personal success look like now to you, and how has this changed for you?
I would say like personal success is for me, once again, it's like being completely present, living in the present moment. And before, it was more like like statues, having a lot of money, living in a huge mansion, and kind of statues, symbols and stuff. But like it's for me, I'm still completely in the process, and it's also like I learn every day, like I said, and it's not. I'm still finding myself like kind of, especially when you look into social media. Sometimes you get a kind of jealousy when you see people they're here and there traveling around the world, and you can't do this at the moment, and stuff like this. So I find myself still sometimes in these loops. But I learned to get myself out of this situation much faster than I used to.
What do you think's helped you to learn that?
Breathwork and breathing, because it's for me, it's such a massive energy release in a positive way, and it's also stress release, and it clears my mind in a way, but gives me like full of energy and clarity and focus.
So with breathwork and presence, and you said that presence is your kind of success today. Is there any way that you help yourself stay present throughout the day, or any way that you measure your success then against that presence?
Yeah, I have my daily practice. Like I have my morning routine, how I start the day, because I think it's so important to start your day right, because it dictates the rest of your day. And then it's not that I do breathwork session, like full on breathwork sessions every day, but what I learned is that I'm like much more aware of how I'm breathing during the day. And when I get into situations where I'm angry or sad or stressed or something, that I remind myself of breathing, and there I have some breathing techniques that I integrate in my everyday life, and that brings me then again into present.
And can you share then a bit about your morning routine and how you start your day right for you?
Yes. Yeah, having a small child, it can be sometimes challenging because once she's up, she dictates the day. But we get up around like 6:30, so we have at least a good 1.5 hours before our little daughter gets up, and then we start with some movement, get some energy into the body, like around 20 minutes. Then we sit down for 20 minutes and meditate. Then we're going to drink some hot, warm water, and then either making a matcha latte or a coffee from time to time, but also really doing it as a ritual. And I really feel if I miss out my movement in the morning, or if I miss out my meditation, I can feel it during the day that I'm not as centered as I want to be.
What kind of movement do you do? What's that like?
It's a mixture between like kind of yin yoga and then just some stretches, or just maybe sometimes we have some little music on, and then just some slight movement, whatever enters in your body and you feel like doing, like completely giving it to the music, and just like some slight movement just to energize the body, just to get it a bit flexible.
Okay. And as we get to the end of our discussion today, I wanted to ask if there's any key person or book that's really inspiring you at the moment who you'd like to share.
So, okay, the one book which is like when it comes to breathwork and breathing, I really like is Breath. It's called The New Science of a Lost Art. It's really about the history of breathwork and breathing. You can find it really was thousands of years back in history, and you can still find like stuff about breathing and how they used it. And another book which I really like, which I'm also reading at the moment, is called The Overstory by Richard Powers.
I love it. It was my favorite novel last year.
Yeah. It's crazy. Once I started reading this book, and when I walk around now and I'm seeing a tree, I see it in completely different eyes now. It's so amazing.
I love it too. Thank you for sharing. And just as we come to an end then, do you have any last key message or takeaway you want to share?
We have this powerful, wonderful gift breathing, and we take it for granted. And I invite you to be much more aware of how you're breathing, because there lies so much wisdom, so much power, so much healing in our breathing. And I really invite you to be more aware of how you're breathing, because I will guarantee you it's going to make a big shift in your life to the better.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Sascha. And so then lastly, where's the best place for our listeners to find you online?
You can find me on spiritofbreath.net. If you want to join off my online breathwork sessions, webinar breathwork sessions every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Berlin time. And I'm also starting now with live sessions again here in Berlin. It's every Friday, 7 p.m. And if any questions or so, please reach out to me. Find all my information on my webpage. I would love to welcome you to one of my sessions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sascha. Thank you for your time. It's been really great to chat.
Thanks for having me.
I still haven't been to Bali yet myself, but it's pretty amazing how many of my guests have mentioned the importance of being in Bali to connect with their true selves and calling or purpose. A cliche, perhaps, but one that seems to work. Something to investigate more. How Sascha describes that his core values haven't changed, he just stopped pushing them away, really resonated with me. This brings into light the ease in which we can live our lives aligned with the external values from society or peers without facing our own internal guidance and values that connect us with who we truly are. We can suppress our values, but we can't ignore them forever. When we try to, we feel a disconnect with what we're doing, a lack of energy and passion, and ultimately we won't be fulfilled and happy. I see our values as the code through which we must interact with ourselves and the world. I also love how Sascha tells us about how you have to take actions to discover your calling. You have to find the courage to take those tiny steps. As he says, you probably won't just have a huge realization while staring into the sea one day, but you need to proactively make moves to discover your calling rather than passively wait for it to come to you. It's really up to you. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe now. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and short review. If you think people you know might benefit from listening to Going Conscious, please share it with them. I know I get much of my inspiration from podcasts which are shared with me. For all episodes, our library and more, visit goingconscious.com. Your support to spread this positive message of fulfillment and freedom means so much. As well as hosting Going Conscious, I help conscious entrepreneurs to transition and unleash their power and purpose with my transformation coaching and conscious brand consulting work. Discover more on Instagram @NikkiTrott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. I'd love to hear from you and to talk about your goals, questions, or how we can work together. And if I don't hear from you before then, see you next Wednesday on the next episode of Going Conscious. As always, live your freedom.